All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first thing I want to talk about today is Nick Walker. Obviously, last night, the big story was that Nick Walker won the Arnold Classic Ohio on his first try ever. Back-to-back victories, probably the most impressive back-to-back victories of this year. Winning the New York Pro on your first try, back-to-back with winning the Arnold Classic on your first try is extremely impressive. If you look at his recent post, his victory post on Instagram, pretty much the entire bodybuilding industry has came out to show support. You got Big Ramy, Rolly Winkler, Regan Grimes, William Bonak's in there, Bodybuilding.com, Blessing Awodabu, Lee Haney, Josh Lenardowitz, Hidetaka Yamagishi, Sean Ray. I mean, pretty much everybody in the industry has came out to show support. But what I wanted to talk about is some of the people that are detracting from Nick Walker's win, because it really surprised me. So, I mean, let's take a look at Nick Walker's physique for a second. If you guys have not seen it yet, Nick Walker looked incredible. He did not leave the door open at all. I don't think it was even close between him and second place. I think at the end of the day, the contest was pretty much decided when Nick Walker came out at prejudging. It was pretty evident from the second he walked on stage that he was the driest, he was the hardest, he was in the best shape, and he was the biggest. He was the most muscular guy on that stage, and he was also the most conditioned. I don't think there was any argument for Nick Walker losing this show. I think this was a solid victory. I don't think there was any, there really wasn't anything controversial here. Nick Walker was the clear winner. And I'm sure the comment section of this video will echo that sentiment. Nick Walker did exactly what he said he was going to do. He looked exactly how he said he was going to look, and he placed exactly where he said he was going to place. Now, again, he's also said he's going to win the Olympia on his first try, and so far Nick has a pretty damn good track record of self-fulfilling prophecy and really just self-belief in general. I'm really excited to see what he does on the Olympia stage. But there were some pretty big names in bodybuilding that were not happy with the outcome of the Arnold Classic. And the first one that I wanted to show you guys was Robby Robinson. I noticed that Robby Robinson was leaving some pretty disparaging comments on some of the posts about the Arnold Classic. So this is what Robby Robinson had to say. If you guys don't know who Robby is, he's a golden era bodybuilder. He won the Masters Mr. Olympia as well. He says, "None of what I see today is good for bodybuilding. But who cares anyway? I used to think bodybuilding was something special, not anymore." So that's a pretty bold statement from a golden era guy from pretty much the same era as Arnold. He says, "Bodybuilding has become a septic tank of bloated caveman-like physiques. The judges vote whom they are told to vote. Nobody wants to look like what you see on stage today. Ugly is the best word for it. Throw a pair of briefs, hands covered in ink, bloated upper body, wrecked lower body. I will make you famous." So Robby Robinson clearly not happy about anything he saw when it came to the placings at the Arnold Classic this year. And I want to know in the comment section below whether you agree or disagree, because these are some pretty harsh words from what many people consider to be a bodybuilding legend. I mean, Robby Robinson is held in pretty high regard in bodybuilding circles. Now, another one, and this is really no surprise, was Michal Krizo. He's the guy from the IFBB Elite Pro, the other federation that we've been talking about a lot lately. He recently won the Arnold Classic Europe, which is a part of that other IFBB organization. And of course, he had some unkind things to say as well. And again, I think it's easy to say these things when you don't step on stage against these guys. But he says, "Nick Walker is no rival for me, boys. He is only big and mighty Lilliput," I don't know what that means, "without symmetry. But his condition and mass was great, but it's all he can show. Bodybuilding isn't only mass," which that last part is true. Bodybuilding isn't only mass, and that's not all that Nick Walker showed. He showed conditioning, he showed lines, he showed detail. But more importantly, one of the things that I was really impressed with by Nick was his stage presence and his posing. So I don't agree that Nick Walker is only mass. So I'm kind of wondering if Michal is ever planning on stepping on an IFBB Pro League stage and challenging these guys that he's talking about, which I would love to see. And I would like if he's making these comments and he's trying to become like a heel character. He wants to be the villain, the bad guy, but not the villain and bad guy that says all this and then never comes and backs it up. It would be cool if he was talking this big game and then he came over here and tried to back it up and competed against Nick or competed about some of these other guys that he's talked about. But if he stays over in that other division and just keeps saying this stuff, then I don't like that. That's not cool. I mean, it's easy to say those things when you never have to prove that you're superior on stage. It's easy to say, oh, this guy will never beat me, when you're never going to compete against that guy. But if he's trying to play this villain character and then he comes over here and tries to back it up, I think that would be cool. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. My opinion, I think Nick Walker looked fantastic here. I have nothing negative, no criticism. Nick Walker really impressed me. I think he went above and beyond even, what people expected of him here. I think top 3 the fans would have been happy with that. I mean, if he came in here and just looked good enough to be top 3, that would have been a major accomplishment. The fact that he came in here and won this show in a dominant fashion, I think is just above and beyond what was expected, and it's really impressive. I really don't have a criticism of Nick after this Arnold Classic. I mean, this was a really, really complete performance. Everything, stage presence, posing, condition, size, the whole thing, he just did fantastic here, and I don't think there's really any argument against it. You can say it wasn't the most aesthetic physique, but there's no argument that it wasn't the most dominant physique on that Arnold Classic stage. That just is what it is. Now, next up in the news, Chris Bumstead posting another physique update. This one I don't think is as recent. He doesn't look as conditioned to me in this update, but he still looks good, and this time he says he's ready for the battle coming up in 2 weeks. I don't think this is 2 weeks out. He looks leaner in some of the other posts that he put up. But one of the things that I have noticed, a common thread amongst all the physique updates that I've seen from Chris so far, is his size. He looks bigger this year, which I think is a good thing for him because he does, he has a good track record of coming in shape. And I really do believe one of the things that has been working in Chris's favor is his stage presence, his height, but also his size. Your eyes are drawn to Chris on stage, and we kind of saw that this weekend at the Arnold Classic with Logan Franklin taking 3rd place here. He was the tallest guy in that top 3, and your eyes were drawn to him, and I think Chris has that similar effect, and I think the fact that Chris looks bigger this year on that taller frame is going to be a good thing for him and give him even more of an edge. And we just saw Terrence Ruffin, who was runner-up at last year's Olympia, win his first Arnold Classic title this year where he looked amazing, and I think he's going to look even tighter in 2 weeks at the Olympia. Because God knows we've seen how Terrence was able to tighten up very, very quickly for this Arnold. What's he going to do with these next 2 weeks, and how much harder could he push it? Can he really push Chris this year? Only time will tell. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Is Chris unbeatable this year? Will he be the 3-time champ, or will he lose the crown? All right, now next up in the news, I want to talk about this Arnold Classic UK, which I believe is like a week away, next weekend. October 1st through the 3rd. So they've got bodybuilding at this Arnold Classic UK, and this Arnold Classic UK does fall under the IFBB Pro League banner, which means it's an Olympia qualifier for next year, that is, next year's Olympia. And I've had a lot of people asking me, and I've been curious as well, who all is doing this show. Now, if you go to their Instagram page, because they haven't posted an official competitor list yet, in Men's Open Bodybuilding, it looks like they've got Samson Dowda, they've got Jamie Jahal, a.k.a. the Giant. And then you've also got Nathan Diasha, I believe, is confirmed to be in this lineup. So there's like 3 guys that I know of that are doing the show. And I'm curious, now that the Arnold Classic Ohio is over, if there's anybody that's going to be willing to go over to the UK to compete in this show that we just saw compete in the Arnold Classic Ohio. It could happen. I think a lot of those guys that competed in the Arnold are in the Olympia lineup. Some of them are not. So I figured that a lot of them probably just want to stay in the States and not have to worry about any travel, like anything preventing them from getting back for the Olympia. So I have a feeling that that lineup in the Arnold Classic UK might be a little bit thin because it is so close to the Olympia. It's like a week away. It's literally like a week from the Olympia. I don't think any of the guys that are doing the Olympia or that did the Arnold and the Ohio that are qualified already would be willing to go over there and try to come back within a week. I don't know. So I think that lineup, to answer the question, is going to be a little bit thin. I think it's kind of weird timing having it fall in between like the 2 biggest U.S. shows to expect someone, especially in times like this with the pandemic and stuff, to think that people are going to leave. I just think everyone that's doing the Olympia is going to be in the United States. But yeah, there's that. And next up in the news, Sergio Oliva Jr. put out a video after his placing. He took 6th, obviously, at the Arnold Classic. It was a lengthy video. He showed a lot of respect to the other competitors, and he talked about his placing. He talked about where he missed the mark. But he also talks about his next show, which is going to be the Legion Sports Fest, which I believe is out there in California. So I thought it was interesting to get that perspective from Sergio, kind of reflecting on his placing this week. And I'm kind of curious to see what Steve Kuklo has to say as well. I looked at his social media today, which obviously is the next day after the show, and he hasn't said anything about his third place placing yet, or really acknowledge the fact that he placed third. The last post on his page is him acknowledging prejudging, where he says he's battling it out for 1 and 2, which is what I thought as well. And the final story that I've got for you guys today, physique update from Hunter Labrada, a name that we haven't really had in the conversation as much because he's one of the guys that's doing the Olympia that was not doing the Arnold Classic. So a lot of the guys that we were talking about for the Olympia were guys that were doing the Arnold because that was the closer show, obviously. Hunter, yesterday, posting his 2-week out from the O updates, where he is looking really good. He's looking really tight. He's looking really conditioned, and he's looking to be really on point. And look, it's an exciting time to be a fan of bodybuilding. Obviously, you've got this victory from Nick Walker, which it's massive. I mean, I feel like we're kind of witnessing one of the newer guys right now, these younger, newer guys, really initiate the changing of the guard. Nick Walker winning this Arnold Classic was a statement for this new era of bodybuilders, and even Ian, runner-up. That's a big placing for him. And then we're going to get to see at the Olympia Ian and Hunter and Nick. It's going to be a really exciting time for bodybuilding for this new generation. Hunter, obviously, in these updates, he's looking fantastic. He went to the Olympia off of a win. Maybe it's an advantage for him to have sat out the Arnold Classic and focus solely on peaking for the Olympia. That could be an advantage that he has over Nick or over Ian. Justin Rodriguez as well. So think about all these amazing names that you got to see compete at the Arnold Classic, and how many more. I mean, just think about how competitive the Arnold was and how many more names are going to be added to that just in 2 weeks at the Olympia. You're going to add Bonak to that. You're going to add Big Ramy to that. You're going to add Brandon Curry to that. You're going to add Hadi Chupin to that. Then you've got this conversation with Nick. It's like, where is this guy going to land in the Olympia? Could he really? I mean, is it possible? He's kind of proved that anything is possible. Is it possible that Nick comes in and wins the Olympia on his first try? I don't know. I mean, it's exciting. The possibility is exciting. You know, another thing we haven't gotten to see yet is Hunter versus Nick. We've seen Hunter versus Ian. We've never seen Hunter versus Nick. We don't know how that plays out yet. Imagine Big Ramy versus Nick. What if that was the 1 and 2 call out? Two of the biggest freaks in bodybuilding right now. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. It helps out a lot. Smash that like button. It's cheap. It's easy. It's free. It really does help out the channel. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.